2 movies to talk about that you have seen.
Okay.
Which one?
Okay. I picked this one.
You think that one?
I picked this one. This is Back to the Future from 1985. Marty McFly, a 17-year-old high school student, is accidentally sent 30 years into the past in a time-traveling DeLorean invented by his close friend, the maverick scientist Doc Brown.
What else would you go back in time with?
Yeah. That's true.
I mean,
directed by Zemeckis and also written by Zemeckis
and Gale. Yes, and somewhere I read, because I was looking up IMDb, is that they still have the rights to it. Whatever that means. Apparently, that's important to mention. But I can imagine
that means that any remakes they're still in charge of that. So
yeah, so indeed, that's what I was thinking as well. Remakes, maybe more in the universe of. I wouldn't say no. Give me a TV series. I don't need a new movie. I would like a TV show. That's what
and Christopher Lloyd
believe
is
that there
still,
is a TV, an animated, like a couple seasons.
Yeah, there is some all kinds of
but I never saw it.
Additional stuff. I only ever saw the 3 movies, and
I was intending just this movie, but we can do all 3 if you want.
No, I think we can do it about this movie.
Yeah.
What I remember about it, and there's a couple. Actually, this is sort of a culmination of a thought process in American movies. Because everything, whenever it was the past, it was always the 50s.
Yeah.
So this harkens back to the 50s. Now in a legitimate way because of the time travel. So not There were a couple of other movies where they were doing it unlegitimately and just annoyingly. And to them, apparently, oldie-timey is 50s.
Mm-hmm.
And now, for us, oldie-timey is 90s? Nah.
I guess. I don't know. 90s doesn't feel that long ago for me.
Also, the Americans have this romantic idea of
small
the 50s.
Town,
Small
50s,
town, everybody was happy. All the girls were pretty skirts.
Dresses.
Yeah, all pretty skirts, and they were
all the moms
nice.
were baking cake, and dinner was on the table at I assume 5:30 would be in the Netherlands. I don't know if they do dinner at 5:30.
Well, dinner would be served as when hubby came home, and all this white picket fence stuff. And this film does not dissuade from that. It pries into it quite.
I always thought, because there was, I recognized that nostalgia wave in the 80s about the 50s, and Dirty Dancing was one of them. This was one of them. Is that they Dirty Dancing was supposed to be early 60s, but close enough. I always attributed it to that the writers at that time was when they grew up, when they were kids. It was the 50s.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like Write What You Know. Well, what do they write about? Young boy. Of course, there's Mad Professor, because otherwise, no story. And then the young boy gets to do the cool thing, and gets to be the hero. Kind of in this case, which is kind of interesting, is that he gets to be an unsung hero. Nobody knows except for Doc Brown, and not even Doc Brown, because he's like...
And we know.
We know. But he doesn't do it for glory or anything like that. He does it... He will be the hero, but he does it because that's the right thing to do. Yeah. And literally to save his own life as well. He
is still a legitimate hero in that way. But it's not an adventure. Mm-hmm. This movie never struck me as an adventure movie in the Indiana Jones kind of adventure movie. He didn't go out to go adventuring. No. Something happened and he reacts. Yeah. And that's a good premise.
Games, same thing. That was also the 1980s. He was also a young man, finds out about issues and does something.
Yeah. And but what it also shows is like how Americans how Americans of the 1980s viewed the 50s. Mm-hmm. That is all it shows. It doesn't show the actual 50s. It shows them how they saw the 50s. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what I'm going to go to the second movie, especially because the second movie is more interesting in that it's set in an alternate reality where things have gone different, and that's actually more. I thought it was the second one is more problematic, but in its build-up, but it's more interesting in the concepts of because the concept runs away from them.
It does.
And here it's very contained and very okay. He goes back in time, and then he changes something, and then he has to go change it back, and that's the entire story, and that's very very small. Whereas in the second one they go much bigger. And in the third one, they actually have an actual adventure how the time machines can actually work. And they have an actual adventure. So this one is still a little touchy-feely, try-outy kind of thing.
Yeah, but it would be correct for a young boy's, well, he's 16 or something, first unintentional even step out into time travel. Because he doesn't have anybody to take him by the hand. He's got the car. He needs to save Doc, and he hits the pedal so hard that he goes through that.
Yeah,
and now he has to get back.
The movie
so it's really about literally the title. It's just
Back to the Future.
Try to get back home. Is all he's trying to do.
As tightly written of the three, this one is the most tightly written, but to that point that it actually closes itself in a little bit. The second one has way more problems for writing, but it's more interesting. And the third one is well written and less tight. Yes. They are now able to take more liberties, and they have now felt the way around the subject, because maybe it's the writer that is his first foray in the idea of time travel. Time travel is very difficult to write because you can make one little mistake early on, and it'll butterfly into an enormous thing, and that's why time travel movies very often don't work out, or they just completely miss the point, or they go completely sideways because it is so difficult. And this one doesn't go sideways; it just pussyfoots a little bit too much.
And that's what it does. It is a full rounded story until the Doc from the future comes back and says, "There's nothing wrong with you guys, but your children." And then you open the door to wait, we can do completely now. We don't need 1.21 gigawatts anymore. We don't need lightning to strike. He can do it with a Coke can and whatnot. And
banana peel.
So you take all the issues from the first movie away. You say, okay, now we can travel in time, and let's see if we can help your kids.
Yeah, but I thought that little tag, because that's a tag.
Yeah, it's so open.
Now the tag, because this is 1985, and they were just restarting the idea of having a number 2 of a movie or a number 3 of a movie.
Because at that time, all second movies were bad, and
that's later.
It's later.
The first in Hollywood they didn't do any second movies. They did sequels, but they didn't call them. We ran into one that was like a sequel of The Rope, and it was just it's not in any way in the description related to The Rope, but it happens to be a sequel. And so it's not a number 2. They didn't do number 2s. Number 2s are from the late 70s, and Star Wars is basically the start of the number 2s. And Jaws, and suddenly these franchises of numbers came out, and in 1985, so when they had Back to the Future, and apparently I think while they were making it, they were getting enough response from people hearing about it that they said, hey, this should be more than a one-off. So they put in this little tag, which is completely open, so they could do whatever after. And that's what, that's why
now somebody has to write going, oh,
good. Or not. If the film fails or doesn't live up to the hype, then they just leave the tag
that's
open.
The wonderful thing about how they did it, because you described it's completely tightly closed off. It's a movie unto itself. You don't need anything. Even after Doc says we're going to go help your kids, you don't need anything. You can say that's a completely satisfying experience. We are completely done. But then you open that can and say, now we are going to the future. I felt that second movie had loads of problems. and made a lot of decisions that is like, okay,
but it was very entertaining. Very entertaining.
It was entertaining, but it was the less of the three.
And
the first one, don't forget, it was a phenomenon.
But
it hit the entirety of...
Still, as I remember it, I liked the second one best because of all its problems. Because it started a whole bunch of things that it couldn't possibly solve.
Yeah.
And it was the most entertaining of the bunch. I mean, the first one is very tight. The
first one is a good, solid movie.
And the third one is also a good, solid movie. Less tight, but good enough.
I thought it was the best.
It is the best produced, best played, best understood by the writers. But number 2 holds in my heart for being the wackiest.
Yeah,
I love it.
It was absolutely wacky.
It was wacky with...
It did a lot. It had a lot of big ideas.
And it couldn't do anything with any of them. It was wonderful.
Because
a wonderful hot mess.
Yeah, so the second movie is set in 2015, right? So now we are speaking here from you. We come to you from 2023. And so that's 8 years ago. Now, 8 years ago, people started to do, okay, so it's Marty McFly Day. What have we actually done that was in that movie? All those projections of what we would have, and the bar, and the,
Yeah.
And some of it we have, and some of it's like, no.
No.
Hover, the hover thing.
Yeah, no, we have, no.
No, we would love that, but no.
And as much 3D, not nearly as much 3D as they thought we were going to have.
Even though we have a lot of 3D and it's awesome.
Yeah, but not
you know, we got 3D animation now. We have, I mean, first time I saw 3D animation, I was like gobsmacked. It was such an opener, because I I'm not much of an anime fan. I don't mind it, but it's very flat, and like making 3D out of something that is actually flat. It's like, what? How are you doing that? I still don't know how they do it, but I love that they can. All of that,
Is this still a modern a film that we as modern people can enjoy?
Oh my God.
I think so.
If you cannot sit down and have a good time watching Back to the Future 1, and really, I don't know what you should be watching. Maybe you should take a walk and go in the forest.
Yeah, you just don't like movies.
But no, I think it holds up. I did see it a while ago, 3-4 years ago. I watched it again, and it was like, I can see why the whole world was, what just happened? This is a game changer. And I'm sure other movies by, in that time were also game changers, because you were coming from the 70s and we were well into the 80s now, and we need to modernize filmmaking. And this was like, okay, this is how to do modern sci-fi.
The film industry got a kick in its royal bum for Star Wars. Star Wars suddenly made the what we want to see modern. And what we still want to see, they made a modern looking movie. There are still lots of 70s in the first Star Wars, but it showed that we want to see the complexity of plot and things that we want to see, and and
we can have that adventure and take it seriously, which is what I like. Is you're saying no, we're coming from Earth and we're going. No, this was like, it's a galaxy far, far away. Boom, we're out there. We are taking this seriously. Yeah.
And the special things like special effects, especially in sci-fi movies, but in any action movie as well, had to start to become part of the plot, and not just we're going to do it like a 10 minutes chase scene for because there needs to be chase scene, and the chase scene itself is the plot. No, it has to be subject to the plot. Yeah. If it doesn't fit in the plot, it shouldn't be in there.
Yeah.
And that's
this
modern.
Movie does this very well, because you have the chase scene with the roller. It's not called a rollerblade, the skateboard, and the iconic skating board through town, and then you do that again in the second movie with the hoverboard. I forget. Do we do it again in the third movie? But it's so well done, because they give a different spin on it, and you have a chase scene. Which normally, no, this boy would not be able to do that, etc., etc. But this is a sci-fi movie with a wink of the eye, and it just takes the audience along. There's no point where you say he shouldn't be able to do that. You're just going, yay!
Yeah, but also when he in any of the scenes where he goes from A to B at speed, there's a reason for him to go to A to B at speed. Yeah. All the elements are working in your movie and not just scenery that looks pretty or.
And what I like about movies still of this time, especially the 80s, that they can say, okay, we want plot, we want action, we want some drama, we want momentum, but they do stop, and then they're in the diner, and then they stop again, and then they're in the car, and he's, the girl is trying to kiss him, and he's trying to not be kissed. I mean, there's moments where there's quiet, and you're really close on the characters, and I think that's one of the things that really made it so real for people, is that you're not expected to just see this as an adventure romp with a young boy. No, there's a family story here, and there's real drama in the sense that he's gonna lose his brother and sister and himself. But it's like when he sees his brother disappear from the photo, that's when things get really real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So still
even though he hates his brother, but that's it's kids.
It's normal to hate your brother.
Yeah. And then I also love the ending is that if you've watched enough Star Trek and all of that and science fiction, is that he's not actually come back to the same universe that he left, the same timeline, and it's okay. It could be totally not okay. He could be completely distraught, but on the other hand, he improved some things, or people improve themselves.
They do imply that there's only one timeline, and he returns now to the fixed, changed timeline.
Yeah,
and there isn't.
To me, that's an alternate universe.
Yeah, but it's not in this
this.
When you do a time travel story, you have to decide: do I want to do like a tree version, or different versions next to each other, or I just want to do a single line, and I go back on the line, change something, and the entire line changes, and they go for that last one.
Yeah.
So they make that choice, and that's what they do in the second.
It's better now, and that's fine.
Yeah.
And he is happy.
And that's what they do in the second one, and that's why they get into the trouble, because that way of doing one line actually causes you some serious writing trouble.
Yes.
And that's what goes in number 2.
That's why time travel stories are difficult. And then they solve it in the third one by going back way before. Yeah,
so far it's not related to the McFlys. It's only slightly related to Doc Brown.
It's a Doc Brown story, and I like it. It's fanfic, and
it is
very, very well produced fanfic, and I like that they were able to say, "Hey, we are telling boy adventure stories. We would like to go to the Old West because that's what the one of the pillars of boy adventure stories is." And it's and they do completely legitimately in the storyline. And what I also liked is that at the end of it, they wrap up everything. If you remember the train hitting the car and all of that. I like that because you can say, right. Yeah, this is it now.
And they left it open for if they ever wanted to do one again, but not as open as the very first movie at that ending. Yeah. So they leave it open. There can be more adventures, and with Doc Brown, who now has Little and Lillian. So Next Generation. I would love to see a TV show or a film of Doc Brown, his missus and his kiddies going around through history. I would love to see that.
If the kids had chronologically aged to now, they would be 40 years old. So
or not, because they could go through time, so they can be young. They can be
young.
They can be 20 somethings. Yeah. And if Christopher Lloyd is up for it, I don't know if he could be in it. The lady he gets with is I think it's possible.
Don't know.
I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it.
And it is, I would say, the glory role of Michael J. Fox. He was, of course, at that time, he was had become the shooting star of Family Ties.
Yeah, and he was. And he sort of plays the same character in Family Ties as he plays in.
Without the specifics of the Family Ties.
Yes, exactly.
But he's a young. He's not too young a teen. He's a mid-teen, and he does it so well. And he was actually not the first cast. They had somebody else, and I won't name him because I like the actor as well. But he, for some reason, did not gel with the story. It had to be more upbeat than, this boy was more taking it as a drama.
Let's say Michael J. Fox was really hot at that time.
He was super hot. He was sizzling hot. But he was doing Family Ties. So they went to night shoots so that he could do filming during the day. For Family Ties, and then and all his responsibilities for that, and then at night they would film, and he got no sleep at all. And it's I don't know how he did it, but
he's
wow,
young and stupid,
young and stupid, and just wow.
One of the things about science fiction films, and it's still a truism, and is that they can either go viral in the 1980s version of viral, or they can bomb so hard. Yeah. So even Star Wars, the original Star Wars was the actors there were going, oh my god, it could bomb. It could bomb.
Well, they were assuming that it was
going to bomb.
It was not a big thing.
But because Star Wars worked out, and then they started making more of these films, but they either bombed or they were glorious, and there is very little in between. So Michael J. Fox being on this property, it helped it to make it go viral because all the fans were going to go see it, and there were a lot of fans.
We were all watching Family Ties. All the teens.
Everybody was watching Family Ties. Yeah. So that helped it to get it to enough bumps on seats that it actually got enough people interested in the actual aspect of the time travel stuff, which was very, very smallly put there because they were worried it was too much for the audience, and that's why the second one they went all out.
I went to see it with a friend from school, so I don't know if it was 85, but we went to the probably, but I would have been fairly young at the time. But I know I went to see it with a kid from school, and we were walking back from the bus, as you do as a Dutch person, living in the Amsterdam area. But we were walking back, and my friend was asking, "How does it work?" And I'm like, "How does what work?" And she goes, "Time travel." So I remember explaining to her alternate parallel universes and the bending of time and space.
All the stuff that Doug Brown didn't bore you to death with in the movie.
Yes. So that's, you can take it. They put this movie together so well that you can watch it and have a fantastically glorious time and be a 1980s kid who doesn't know how time travel works, because we've seen so many science fiction properties in the last 20 years that anybody age 12, 14 or older will know how time travel works. But that wasn't true then.
No, this was one of the first, if not the first. It was the first one that came in a larger audience. All the rest before that was all niche stuff.
Yeah, or done badly.
Or done badly, or Star Trek, and Star Trek wasn't being shown here.
No, it was 85, so that was pre Next Generation.
Yeah.
So well.
Recommend it still.
Highly recommend it. Go watch it. There's 2 sequels. Buy the box set or stream your little heart out. It's such a good romp.
Yep.
I love it. I love these movies.
Yeah. Me too.
I'd say anytime, any day.
Yes. And that's my opinion.
And my opinion. And we're sticking to it.